Hey guys, Mr. Breen here, and in this video I will be talking about bank activities. So banks have three basic functions. They store money, okay, they lend money out to people, and they help people save money. Now when it comes to what a bank does, I'm going to explain this in terms of a bank's balance sheet. You can think of a balance sheet as sort of like the bank's budget. And like any summary of a person's financial well-being, we're going to look at what that bank owns and might make it money, what that bank owes, okay, what they're going to have to pay back, and together we're going to call these stocks. Not like stocks like you would invest in a company's stocks, but stocks like unchanging amounts, relatively speaking, unchanging amounts of ownership or debt. And you would also, of course, want to look at the flows, money coming in and out. And we're going to call money coming in income and money going out expenses. And of course, you don't want these things to balance exactly. You want your assets to be greater than your liabilities, and you want your income to be greater than expenses. So maybe you want this much in terms of assets and this much in terms of liabilities. So there's some wiggle room there. And maybe you want your income to be like this, and your expenses to be sort of down here. Notice I kind of did income in black and expenses in red, and that's why you would say if your income outweighs your expenses, you're in the black. You're making a profit. And this is why Black Thursday or Black Friday is called what it's called, because it's an opportunity for companies to earn lots of income. And expenses, if your expenses exceed your income, you're in the red. In other words, you're making a negative profit. You're losing money. Now, this may sound weird, but for a bank, deposits are actually liabilities. It may sound like it's money they have, right? But actually, it's money that could be taken away sort of at any time, well, depending on what kind of deposit it is. But there are savings accounts, right? So people leave their money there. It earns some interest. It's relatively hard to access. It's relatively less liquid than checking accounts. But that money can be taken out. There are checking accounts where the money can definitely be taken out at almost any time using like a debit card or a check or something like that. And then there are certificates of deposit, okay, which are sort of like advanced savings. They earn a better rate of interest than a savings account, and the money can't be taken out for a certain amount of time, maybe a year or 5 years or 10 years. Okay, so it's a little less liquidity for the depositor, and therefore it's a little less likely that this money would be removed from the bank. But these are liabilities for the bank. Okay, so for the bank, their assets include loans. And that might, again, sound weird because if you took out a loan, that would be a liability for you. Well, who would you owe the money to? You would owe the money to the bank. That's why for the bank, it's an asset. It's something that they own. Okay, it's some claim on your future income. So these would include mortgages that they make. This is why they make mortgages, right? So they can make money off of them. It's an asset for them. Or a student loan, or possibly an auto loan, something like that. Okay, those are assets for the bank. And also just bank reserves, okay, money that they hold on to. And they're going to hold on to money for a few reasons. Maybe some of their mortgages default. Okay, default is when you don't pay back a loan. So if somebody defaults on a loan, they're going to want to have some reserves to cover their losses. Okay, so if there's a crisis of some kind, right, default, maybe one of their assets goes up in smoke for that reason. And also just for day-to-day withdrawals of depositors. Okay, so for depositors' needs, because it would be really bad if a depositor showed up and wanted their money back from the bank, and the bank said, "Oh, I'm sorry, we don't have it. It's all lent out to people." That would be bad. Their expenses, generally speaking, include normal business expenses. You have employees whose salaries you have to pay, and you have buildings that you have to maintain, and a website that you have to maintain. And they also have to pay interest on deposits, depending on the type of deposit, right? Checking accounts don't pay interest, but savings accounts, they pay interest, and certificates of deposit pay interest. So they're going to have to pay interest on some of the liabilities that they have. Now, the sources of banks' income are mainly from interest on loans that they make. So if they make a mortgage to somebody, if they lend somebody money to buy a house, then the interest that they receive from that is some of their income, and they'll also get income from fees for various things. Okay, so they might charge a fee on checking accounts, and for a variety of other things.